Hey, what's up, everyone? Doing another video here. We're going to talk about the different classes of RVs. This is going to be a good informative video for people that are getting their first RV, or for somebody that's owned one class of RV and are looking to get into another one and want to know the pros and cons of which one to find out which one will work best for them. So starting off, we have our Class A's. Class A's come in either a diesel or a gas. Diesels are generally bigger. These are true buses. So these are really big RVs. When you see them going down the road and they look like a bus, pretty much. That's a Class A. Class A's can range in size anywhere from smallest being 27 feet long all the way up to the largest being about 45 feet in length. The diesel motorhomes tend to cost more money than the gas, usually double in price, for good reason, because they are diesel pushers. They have more power. They can pull more. The motors are going to last a lot longer than a gas motor. And they're truly for traveling. If you are really looking to travel the United States for a long period of time, you're definitely going to want to look at a Class A diesel pusher. It's very livable. It's something that you can drive around and you have everything right there and use. You can pull a vehicle, detach that, and use that to get around in. But that's something that if you're traveling for a very long period of time, even full timing in an RV, but you're traveling in full timing, Class A is definitely going to be something that you're looking for. This is really the I wouldn't say that necessarily the nicest. It depends on how you look at it, but Class A's are the highest price pointed coaches, or can be, such as like a Newell or a Prevost, really getting up there as far as what they can do with that. And that's the true. That's why it's called a Class A, because it's the very top of the list as far as size, what it provides, space, being able to travel the whole United States. All right, Class B. Class B is a true van. A Class B, you are normally anywhere from 20 feet, usually, I don't know, to sometimes even 30 feet. Depends on the Class B. They generally, Class Bs will come with a Mercedes diesel motor, or once in a while you can get them like the Thors, or like a Thor Ram, or a Ram, that will have a gas motor in them. So usually they are they're actually pretty pricey coaches for being something that's smaller. But what makes them so great is convenience. A lot of people look to these today, especially here in 2022 now, because they are convenient. They can fit into spaces. They still usually have all your necessities. Some of the downsides to some of them may not have like a toilet, or even a bed. Some have like pull-out beds that change into beds and stuff like that. Obviously, with different models, but the number one biggest selling point, I think, on a Class B is that they are a van, essentially, that is super convenient and has all your basic needs of living. The downside to this is that they are smaller, so very small, and you're not going to have a lot of room for storage in that aspect. But they are something that you can almost use as like a van, and something like a B. Like if you have, I'm here in Mesa, Arizona, so there's a lot of like HOA here and stuff. Um, True B vans come from a chassis that can be used as a like they can be basically work vans that are made into mobile home living vans. So when you have one of those in your driveway or something like that, it doesn't even need to be defined as an RV, because nobody knows what it is driving by. It could be a work vehicle, like for example a Mercedes Sprinter. It comes with all the necessities in it to live in it, or it comes stripped down with nothing in the back that you can use a Mercedes like Sprinter as as a work van, and they sell them as that. So it's not something that like an HOA or anything like that can complain. It'll fit in your driveway super nice. It'll fit in any spot in any RV park super nice because it is small and convenient. A Class C is something usually a little bit bigger than that. They can range anywhere from 25 feet long up to like sometimes 35 feet. They can definitely range in what they are. They're usually a boxier look to them. They do look like an RV, but a smaller RV. These generally have an overhead bunk in them, which makes it a C as opposed to a B as well. They are usually powered by either a Ford or a Chevy motor, similar to a gas Class A, but these tend to be smaller usually than gas Class A's. A lot of people go this route. This is another RV that people look for if you're looking for something a little bit bigger than a Class B, but you're not trying to, break the bank necessarily on a Class B. Class C's will usually be a little bit more affordable, have a little bit more space, and they are still pretty convenient, being that they're usually like 30 feet long, give or take. Again, they can be anywhere from 25 up to 35 feet. They also make something called a Super C. A Super C is basically a Class C on steroids. It's usually a little bit bigger, and sometimes those can actually have the diesel in them. But more often than not, you will find a Ford or a Chevy motor on in a Class C. Next is so moving on to travel trailers. Travel trailers, basically what makes the difference between a travel trailer and a fifth wheel is that a travel trailer is pulled behind your vehicle, as well as a fifth wheel is, but the travel trailer is hooked up to the back of a truck versus a fifth wheel is hooked up into the bed of a truck with a fifth wheel hitch that is mounted in the truck to make it equipped for that. You definitely need a bigger truck to pull a fifth wheel, as they are heavier. Travel trailers are made to be kind of smaller spaces. I think these type of RVs, they can be lived in, but it's definitely not something that is usually lived in. It's usually something that a lot of people will use for going camping for certain times out of the year, or having a campsite and putting up there so that they don't have to actually like build a house or anything like that on a campsite, but they can have all still their living necessities because they usually do come in them. They can range in prices, but they are usually on the cheaper spectrum as far as the price is concerned, because they are smaller and they don't come with a motor. You do need a truck to pull it, but you don't necessarily need anything super expensive to pull one of these, as they are not as heavy as, say, a fifth wheel. Which brings me to my next category, fifth wheels. These are I would say fifth wheels are the RV that is most used for permanent planting and living, as they have the most space, and they feel most like a home rather than a motorhome. These are definitely, I always tell people that fifth wheels are often for planting, although you can use them for traveling. You have to pull over the side of the road to detach and put everything out and have power and do all that if you do want to use that in that aspect. But more often than not, fifth wheels are often used for planting, and a lot of people that are full-timing or at parks, RV parks, are going to have fifth wheels, and they can be used the same at like campgrounds, and if you have property, using that the same way to have kind of a secondary home almost in that aspect. Following that, we have the extremely small group, which are the teardrop and pop-up RVs. The teardrops are, the difference between the teardrop and pop-up is that, of course, they look different, but the teardrops are generally hard-sided, enclosed, very small, basically travel trailers that usually, it depends on, the teardrop. Some just have a bed. Some actually have all your living necessities, but they're all super compact into one little thing. These are truly for just kind of going camping, like in Arizona here, you can go up to different sites and take something like that, and it would definitely work for what you wanted to use it for, temporarily. And they're pretty convenient, although they're not like the most luxurious of motorhomes, as they are very small. And then pop-ups are kind of similar. The downside to a pop-up, and usually why they're definitely cheaper than, say, like a teardrop that's got living in it, which can be here nor there, is that they're usually not hard-sided, and you have to basically set them up kind of like a tent. So they're essentially like a glorified tent. There are some pop-ups out there that like it's like a tent off the ground, essentially, with obviously more livable items. Like it'll still have a bed in there, essentially, a refrigerator, a counter, and sometimes a bathroom in it. So it's definitely something you just use to go camping with, not something you want to live in. It does not have hard sides almost ever in a pop-up. I think maybe some do, but not often. And then the last one is a truck camper. A truck camper is only made to be on a truck. You can take a truck camper off of a truck, but they're almost never made to actually sit there and be like lived in or camped in just on their own sitting. Although they can do that, that's not their purpose. Their purpose is to be on top of a truck, and these can range in price but not be relatively too expensive. The newer ones can be a little bit pricey. But again, this is something that if you have a truck and you want all the livable, usually they have all the livable necessities in them, you can have it right there. And it's really for, again, I would say going camping with it. But it's definitely not something that you like set up and leave in a area. You can do that, but you don't, you're not going to use it for that purpose. You need to use it when it's on a vehicle. It's not structured really to be lived in when it's just sitting on its 4 legs on its own. All right, guys. Well, I hope this helped some of you out. Maybe figure out the pros and cons and the differences between the different classes. Maybe on your search to finding either a different motorhome or getting your first motorhome and finding out which class of RV that you're looking for. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.